I just was hoping you could help me square sort of two strains of conversation in this room. One has been about the sort of conditions that the United States wants to see before Israel goes into Rafah. The president himself referenced this last night, saying that he'd want to know about plans for evacuation before they go in and take out the remainder of Hamas. Separately, we've been talking a lot about a ceasefire that could start as early as this weekend. So can you help me understand, is the idea here that there would be a invasion of Rafah before the ceasefire, or it's going to come after the ceasefire? I'm trying to understand how these two things are
I understand the confusion, but you actually do have to kind of consider them a bit separately. And again, I don't want to speak for the Israelis. They should speak to the operations they are or are not planning. All I can tell you is that we have been presented any kind of a plan to provide for the safety and security of the refugees there, and we've said very clearly we would not support Rafah operations unless or until there is a credible, achievable plan to provide for their safety and security. So I can't tell you what timeline the Israeli Defense Forces are on in terms of Rafah operations. At the same time, we are in active negotiations, and we are hopeful that we're getting to the conclusion or near the conclusion of those discussions and negotiations over a temporary ceasefire, which would, if enacted, last perhaps as long as 6 weeks from the time it was signed onto by both parties. In that 6 weeks, based on the idea of a temporary ceasefire, of course, there'd be no fighting, which means civilian casualties will come down. Damage to civilian infrastructure will be stopped. You'll have breathing space to get more humanitarian assistance in, and of course, not unimportantly, we'd have the ability to get all those hostages out. The idea is to get them all out, all the hostages that are remaining. But that would have to happen over stages. So if we were able to get this in place, I can't give you a date certain on the calendar, but if we did, you can expect, should both sides abide by their commitments, several weeks of no fighting.
So would that mean that Rafah invasion wouldn't happen, or would just be delayed?
There'd be no fighting for the entirety of the agreed to time frame. No fighting anywhere.